Nestled in the rolling hills of the Swabian Jura, Lichtenstein Castle stands as a testament to Germany's rich medieval heritage. Often referred to as the fairy tale castle due to its stunning Gothic architecture and dramatic cliffside location, this historic landmark attracts thousands of visitors each year. Initially commissioned in the 19th century by Duke Wilhelm of Urach, the castle was designed to evoke images of chivalry and legend, reflecting a romanticized vision of Germany's past. With its towering turrets and intricately detailed stonework, Liechtenstein is not just a marvel of construction, it symbolizes a deep connection to the narratives that shape a nation's identity. However, beneath its picturesque facade and storied history lies a darker chapter that would unfold in the summer of 1984. It was a warm July day when the alarm was sounded, a moment that would shatter the serene atmosphere surrounding this beloved landmark. The blaze erupted unexpectedly, engulfing parts of the castle in flames and sending shock waves through cultural circles across the country. What started as a seemingly isolated mishap would become a flashpoint in the debate over historical preservation and commercialization of cultural assets, a debate that resonates even more today. As the flames consumed the wooden interiors and the precious artifacts that adorned the walls, the event served as a grim reminder of the fragility of our cultural heritage. In the immediate aftermath, it became clear that this disaster was not merely a loss of property but a catastrophic blow to the historical narrative of Germany itself. Countless artworks, decorative furnishings, and documents were lost forever, snatched away by the unforgiving fire. What could have been a preventative story of vigilance and care instead revealed deep-seated issues of neglect and commercial pressures that have plagued historical sites. In an age where the balance between profit and preservation increasingly skews toward financial interests, the Lichtenstein Castle fire beckons a crucial question. How far are we willing to go to protect our history? The conflagration not only damaged physical structures, but also exposed the vulnerability of our cultural legacy in a rapidly evolving world. Discussions surrounding the responsibilities of those who manage and maintain such sites became more pronounced, urging a re-evaluation of priorities within the realm of cultural heritage management. The tragedy reverberated through discussions about the role of private ownership and public stewardship in preserving history. Many began to argue that a castle like Liechtenstein, with its deep ties to national identity, should never have been left to face potential ruin without stringent protection measures. It called into question the accountability of those tasked with safeguarding these irreplaceable treasures, revealing the complexities of allowing market forces to dictate the fate of our shared history. As we reflect on that fateful summer day, it's essential to recognize that the fire in Lichtenstein Castle is not just an isolated event. It stands as a symbolic crossroads, representing the endless struggle between maintaining the sanctity of cultural heritage and the commercial interests that often drive its neglect. The narrative continues to unfold, challenging all of us to think critically about what it means to truly preserve our past for those who will come after us, within a world increasingly defined by consumption rather than reverence. On the morning of July 4, 1984, Lichtenstein Castle stood as a proud monument to history, its Gothic spires piercing the sky above the serene German landscape. However, underneath its seemingly timeless exterior, the castle was a ticking clock of human negligence. Leading up to that fateful day, routine maintenance had been either postponed or inadequately executed. Crumbling portions of the structure, combined with a lack of modern fire safety measures, set the stage for disaster. As tourists ambled through the historic corridors, admiring centuries-old tapestries and priceless artworks, a seemingly innocuous festival was underway. The atmosphere was lively, with the scent of grilled meats wafting through the air and laughter echoing off stone walls. It was a celebration of heritage, and yet this very festivity held an unintentional catalyst for chaos. Buried amidst the joyful camaraderie was a careless decision, an outdoor barbecue, positioned perilously close to the castle's ancient timbers. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, an unnoticed flame flickered to life just beyond the reach of oversight. Moments later, a gust of wind stirred, fueling the flames that quickly leaped from the grill to the dry underbrush nearby. As the fire spread unchecked, the first scream pierced through the celebratory ambiance, a panicked shout from a visitor who spotted the smoke curling ominously towards the castle walls. In an instant, the joyful gathering morphed into chaos. Inhabitants and guests alike rushed to comprehend the unfolding nightmare as the blaze began to consume the castle with ferocious speed. The initial reaction of those present was one of disbelief. How could this be happening? Panic set in swiftly as people scrambled to evacuate while others attempted to douse the flames with whatever was at hand. Fire extinguishers were located, but many were outdated, ineffective against the heightening inferno. As smoke billowed into the sky, response teams were alerted, but their arrival would hinge on the very fragility of time, a cruel reminder of the impermanence of history. At the heart of the action were custodians of the castle, desperately zoning in on saving what they could. Decisions were made in the heat of chaos. Should they prioritize the lives of their guests over the priceless artifacts? In the throes of the blaze, emotional attachments to paintings worth thousands of Deutsche Mark began to clash with the primal instinct to protect human life. The urgency in those moments magnified the larger issue. How do we define worth when history and humanity collide? As firefighters arrived, armed with hoses and determination, the team faced not just a flame, but a testament to centuries of cultural labor and history. Efforts quickly coalesced into a frantic fight against a fire that was now threatening not only the structure itself but the very essence of what Lichtenstein Castle represented. The flames licked hungrily at ancient artifacts and irreplaceable artworks, and amidst the discord, a question lingered long after the last ember faded. How could a simple celebration ignite a conflagration that would haunt cultural preservationists for years to come? The day left scars that would not only mark the castle but ignite a dialogue about the responsibilities of ownership and the fragile balance between commerce and cultural reverence. In a post-disaster world, the echoes of that day would serve as a solemn reminder of our collective obligation to protect not just the physical structures of our past, but the meaning they hold for generations yet to come. In the aftermath of the fire at Lichtenstein Castle, the ramifications extended far beyond the charred remains of its once majestic walls. Restoration efforts were immediately set in motion, yet they unveiled a stark truth. The castle's previous neglect had left gaping holes not only in its structure, but also in the very fabric of historical preservation practices. The damage was extensive, leading engineers and historians to confront the painful reality that certain elements of the castle's architecture could never be fully restored to their original glory. As the restoration team evaluated the extent of the destruction, a heated debate emerged about how to approach the rebuilding process. Should they attempt to recreate the castle as it once stood, or should they take this opportunity to modernize, incorporating advanced materials and fire safety standards that had been abandoned during the castle's lengthy period of neglect? This conflict was emblematic of a larger conversation happening across the globe concerning the essence of cultural heritage and the need to safeguard it against future threats. One of the primary questions raised was whether the task of restoration should prioritize historical accuracy or contemporary compliance. The castle, after all, was not just a property. It was a cultural artifact, with every stone lying in testament to centuries of history and heritage. Critics argued that relying on modern techniques could compromise the integrity of the historical site. They believed that losing the authenticity of such a landmark would be akin to erasing a part of the collective memory, an idea that resonated deeply within the community and struck a chord with historians worldwide. On the other side of the equation lay the pressing necessity for commercial viability. As reconstruction efforts painstakingly unfolded, the realities of funding further complicated matters. Financial interests loomed large, emphasizing how restoration could also generate revenue and tourism. The delicate dance between the need for economic support and the aspiration to maintain historical fidelity became a focal point of frustration. Many voiced concern that the looming shadow of commercialism threatened to undermine the very values of preservation that should have been at the forefront of such endeavors. The discussions surrounding Lichtenstein Castle highlighted an urgent truth. The preservation of cultural heritage often finds itself at odds with contemporary economic pressures. Cultural artifacts are increasingly commodified, transformed into products rather than revered monuments of history. This scenario reflects a broader tension within society, one that forces us to question how deeply we value our collective past in an age where immediate consumer demand often sidelines the need for reflection and respect. As restoration continued, it forced a painful but necessary reckoning. The fire that engulfed Lichtenstein Castle did more than destroy. It acted as a catalyst for critical conversations about our responsibilities toward the past. The struggle to balance the pressing needs of today with the preservation of yesterday illustrates the complex and often burdensome role of cultural caretakers. In essence, each historic site is a living testament to who we are, and the decisions made in the face of tragedy echo through time, shaping the narrative of our shared human story. Ultimately, the legacy of the 1984 fire lingers as a poignant reminder that history is not merely a collection of artifacts to be preserved. Rather, it is a thread woven through our present, defining our identity and informing our future. The choices we make in protecting these treasures resonate beyond their physical forms, influencing how future generations will engage with their own cultural heritage. The fire at Lichtenstein Castle marked a pivotal moment in how Germany, and indeed the world, perceived the significance of historical preservation. In the wake of the tragedy, a wave of introspection swept through the country. The once idyllic fantasy of an untouched cultural heritage began to crumble, revealing an uncomfortable truth. The neglect of historical sites was not merely a thing of the past, but an ongoing crisis impacting our identity. This heartbreaking episode forced society to reconsider the balance between preserving the authenticity of historical artifacts and making the necessary adaptations for the demands of modern safety standards. As restorers meticulously examined the damage, they faced a daunting choice. Should they replicate the castle's original structure precisely, embracing the risks associated with aging materials, or should they opt for modern construction techniques that might strip the site of its historical essence? This dilemma resonated far beyond the walls of Liechtenstein. Similar sites across Germany grappled with the same questions. The fire had ignited a fervent discussion about what it truly means to preserve history in a rapidly changing world where commercial interests often overshadow the importance of cultural integrity. The conversation surrounding Lichtenstein Castle illuminated the long-term consequences for cultural landmarks. How neglect, whether intentional or unintentional, could erode not only physical structures but the entire fabric of collective memory. As funding for restoration dwindled, many sites found themselves at the mercy of market forces. The commodification of heritage diluted their significance, turning places of history into mere attractions where the experience of a selfie often overshadowed the story behind the monument. This trend raised an alarming question. Were we willing to sacrifice our connection to the past for the sake of profit? Reflecting on the legacy of Lichtenstein Castle, it becomes clear that the effects of the fire extend far beyond the immediate damage inflicted. The tragedy has served as a powerful reminder of the necessity to invest in our cultural heritage rather than exploit it. Preservationists, historians, and the general public must confront the ongoing challenge of ensuring that our cultural landmarks are not only protected, but revered. By understanding the downfall at Liechtenstein as a vital teaching moment, society can strive for a future where the lessons learned from our past inform the management practices governing cultural sites. As we consider the fate of historical preservation in the context of Lichtenstein Castle, it is crucial for each of us to take action. Advocating for better cultural heritage management practices isn't solely the responsibility of experts. It falls upon all who value art, history, and identity. Whether through supporting local preservation initiatives, engaging in informed discussions, or simply visiting historical sites with an eye for their stories, we can elevate the importance of these cultural treasures. In our globalized, fast-paced world, where the allure of profit often blinds us to the value of history, the lessons of Liechtenstein must resonate loudly. Let us champion a future where such tragic events are not repeated, ensuring that every flicker of flame is countered with a commitment to preservation that honors our past, enriches our present, and safeguards our collective heritage for generations to come. In this era of consumption, may we choose reverence over profit, securing our culture's legacy amidst the flames of negligence.